Wear your heart on your sleeve. Welcome back, welcome back. Adjusting some levels, adjusting some levels. Wear your heart on your sleeve. Welcome back, everyone. This is your boy, DJ Boganimina, and I'm here to discuss a few of the things that are topical at the moment, where we just witnessed the season finale of the Conclave, and an American has won the pageant. He gets to wear the crown and represent God and be God's voice on earth, which didn't surprise the people that are watching very closely, particularly watching very closely what's happening in America. Because when I say Trump is a child, Trump can't keep a secret for shit. I mean that shit because this nigga literally posted himself as Pope, hinted at a major announcement, an imminent major announcement, and then ta-da! Not only is America hosting the World Cup, but America's now in charge of the Vatican. So, if you have been following this channel in any way, shape, or form, you know we've discussed the play of controlling and taking over the FIFA. How America and the FBI raided FIFA and went into third world countries, primarily rooting out corruption, and since then have been able to steer the course of the World Cup decision-making processes to a point where America can't seem to lose a World Cup. Like, they had one in 94, they're having another one now, so that's 2 World Cups in my lifetime, and to them that was too long, or any longer would have been intolerable. And so Trump is a completion of that thought, so to speak, where once South Africa hosted it, they were like, look, if we're going to be giving it to every Tom, Dick, and Harry little country, bumfuck nowhere in Africa, then when are we ever going to get a chance? Germany was literally the same thing, right? They were like, let Germany have the last one, then, because when we asked nicely, basically, in 2006 World Cup, South Africa asked nicely for 2006 World Cup, and the racists said no. The racists said no. The racists were like, you know what, we're going to go with what we know. We're not going to allow you to have 4 years of infrastructure development early that could then change the trajectory of your whole country and lift a lot more people out of unemployment. Do you think inequality and unemployment would be the same if our World Cup had happened 4 years earlier? These are questions, people. Wear your heart on your sleeve. Answer the question. Think about it. And the answers are right there. We all know what's happening. We all know what the truth is. And this selection of the Pope, on the one hand, is basically a rallying point for people of the Catholic faith in particular to basically endorse the significance and importance of America on the global stage. And the strongman Trump basically couldn't keep it in. He couldn't be a master genius person that moves in the shadows. Nah, that nigga is going to gloat. He's going to gloat in your face. He's going to dunk on you and then gloat and make videos and post those videos and then comment on those videos that he posted where he was dunking on you. Well, that's a version of Trump that I imagine, based on the empirical data that's available to me and all of us. We didn't ask for this data, but it's available to us. We've been monitoring this man's behavior for some time. And what I then think about is this idea that, okay, so if Trump is a dictator, because he's allegedly not very popular in the US, even though I don't know if the media in the US are characterizing him as bad as they should, to the point where there's still some tolerance for him, because they could completely eviscerate him, but they're not. They're keeping him alive. It's like, they're punching the shit out of him, don't get me wrong, they're kicking him while he's down, but he is their president, and so the propaganda has to be gentle somehow. There has to be lube. And if that's what you guys call selling out, whatever the case may be, I think that's what it is, right? The things that we think of as selling out are the softening and basically self-censoring, like how parents would have to do that for their children. They would have to temper certain things and be like, look, at your applicable level, this is the number of layers of the onion I'm going to peel back, because if I keep peeling, you're going to start crying. You know what I mean? Simple things. Anyway, so we look at the world right now, and it's literally like the death of strongman politics. And the death of strongman politics started with Angela Merkel. Angela Merkel was more trying to be competent while being feminine. And maybe some of that competence came off as masculine to some people, some of that excellence, some of the stats made people think, it's like, imagine if you saw a person's stats, basketball stats or whatever, like up and coming in high school, and you're just seeing stats, pure stats. Depending on who you are, you're going to imagine a guy. And so I think maybe that's what happened with Angela Merkel. Like, I have no reason for these speculations. It's just an idea that I'm spreading out there in terms of it's possible that feminism has been playing itself out in the personalities of the women that are available for global leadership, in terms of, and even though it has yet to really happen outside of the few examples that we have. And I think New Zealand is the latest example, and she was very much, a lot more not a man in a woman's suit, you know what I mean? She was a very feminine woman person. And yeah, so I guess the pilot test has like gone through to the point where now they're willing to pilot it again in Africa. And I say again because Namibia is not the first country to have a female president on the continent, and so it's like there's some kind of early adopter, something that's happening in that space. But strongman politics is what runs the world right now. That's a trend on the other side. It's like a seedling. But when we're talking about the trees and the forests, the big people in the world are the big countries, the big economies, the big militaries, the big industrial superpowers, the people with the money, right? And at the top of that list, you have China, the USA, Russia, Germany, the UK, and India. You have powerhouses such as France, I guess culturally and economically and militarily, they would feature as global superpowers. Italy, I think it's just they're leaning on their reputation a bit too much. Then you have the new kids on the block, Brazil and South Africa. Yeah, because India, China never even mentioned as the tigers. Russia was included because it participated in the world wars and therefore it's central to our global history, the spell that we're being cast under. And then, yeah, so then you have the BRICS. And beyond the BRICS, you have BRICS Plus. And part of the BRICS Plus, the important aspect of BRICS Plus is the fact that there's a lot of Middle Eastern countries with a lot of interest in this, right? And so you see this idea of the BRICS was this resistance to the US, right? The Federation is the US and the rebels are the BRICS countries, and they start out basically it's just Russia. Russia is the brick. It's the foundation stone that says, look, my neighbors, India and China. Let's invite someone else so it doesn't look like a fucking conspiracy. So way over on the other side of the world is this guy called Brazil. So the four of us are gonna make something called BRIC, and this BRIC thing, yabo, it's me trying to get around doing a Cold War. So we're just gonna go around. We're not gonna go through. We're not gonna fight each other head on. We're gonna go around and do a game of basically propaganda and subterfuge. Which I mean, the KGB's been working on that shit for years, right? So they start this journey. And the journey is making some kind of sense, and when it really starts to piss the US off is when they're expanding NATO and eventually Russia's like, fuck you, stop. Right, so the first of the skirmishes, I don't even know the history of Ukraine that well, right? But there were skirmishes, like my whole life there's been skirmishes, but I'm pretty sure that there must have been something that happened before 2010. And so in that context of whether Putin was president or Putin was not president, but he was the chancellor. I don't know the history that well. But my idea is that there's a long narrative there, and someone else who knows can fill these gaps in terms of our ignorance, right? But these are the kinds of things I think we should be talking about on a more deeper unpacking really what's happening, because there is no way you can really genuinely think that it is a complete coincidence that a deputy president of a country meets a world person that is well known and central to a lot of people's belief in terms of meets the person of the Pope, and then the Pope dies next day. And no one thinks that like they whacked him, like they did some nerve agent nonsense that takes 24 hours and makes sure that he has an alibi. He must not be in the vicinity when the, you know what I mean? Boom, Pope did, fine. Now, and let's look into that Pope, research that Pope, find out what this Pope, like why, okay, let's say they killed the Pope. Like why would they have killed the Pope? Investigate that shit. Look at the decisions that he's made. Look at the pronouncements that he's made. Are those in favor of certain narratives? Are those going to agree with and allow this wishy-washy morality of doing one thing on the left and then doing the opposite on the right? Are they going to allow? Do you think that Pope was a Pope who would entertain hypocrisy, who would entertain willful harm being done for profit? And so I'm talking about a Pope who went to see what was going on in Gaza for himself. And so, yeah, that's who this Pope that died is, right? Yeah, I think it was Benedict. I'm not even sure. I won't lie. I've been on a journey of ignorance because I felt like it was the programming and I didn't know how to separate programming from truth. So I had to become ignorant. And so some of the things I'm spewing are now reflections on my programming, not necessarily just my programming coming out. So I'm in control of the programming in some way, if you can understand what that means. So this is where we are at, where a country can meet a Pope, kill the Pope, and then announce, well, and then that president can then basically replace the Pope in AI imagery and become the Pope, and then tell us before the conclave is over that they know the result, and therefore we should kind of be thinking of a US Pope, even though no one is thinking that, right? And then surprise, it actually happens. And so you're like, okay, this is social engineering. It's dumb, but it's social engineering, and it's clearly for some evil end. And we need to be thinking bigger. We need to be watching their moves. We need to be stepping back. That's why I'm bringing up the FIFA shit, because I'm like, no, this thing is all connected. There's no way that money doesn't move in these waves. And you can see that they were these BRICS World Cups. Why did these BRICS World Cups happen? Is it because of the will of the people with the power, or is it against the will of the people with the power in terms of the US fighting back to be like, how dare you make these corrupt decisions that lead the World Cup to going to all our enemies? Anyway, the real question is, how many strongmen are on that field? How many strongmen are on the field? And right now, the strongman is Putin, because he's quiet, moves in silence. He's currently squeaky clean in terms of can do no wrong, which means my theory that Russia wrote this whole play makes perfect sense, because like he can just be the wolf in the background and Trump is the one barking, Trump is the one making all the noise, Trump is the one getting all the backlash. But at the end of the day, what you're doing is normalizing the idea of the strongman politics, right? The idea of Putin runs Russia, Xi Jinping runs China, Modi runs India, Bolsonaro was replaced by Lula, and so now Lula runs Brazil. The ANC GNU concoction runs South Africa. The royal family runs Saudi Arabia, all of these things, right? So basically that's what BRICS is. It's not only an economic alliance, but it's also a political framing of how to organize society alliance. And the idea is, if I can be cast as a benevolent dictator, or I can be a benevolent dictator, that, well, I mean, there is no separation between these things, particularly through the lens of media, because then the people in power are the ones choosing what to tell you. So from that perspective, then you can see how it's all been a play to lead us to what Putin wants, which is like, accept me on the global stage as the world leader that I am, allow me to make these moves that reorganize the world order to a point where I also can influence pricing, and we should all be able to influence pricing. If you're really wanting to compete, then let's all set our own prices and see who's better at setting prices and who's better at finding customers and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? and then you're actually innovating in the interest of the people instead of innovating just for the profits, because then that's how you end up with an iPhone 17, which is just like got 27 cameras, and you're like, for who? For what purpose? Like, who needs this much data? So now are each of the companies saying they need their own camera because they don't like the camera angle work that the other camera is doing, or like, what is going on really? Like, okay, fine, so we get it, they're spying on us, but now are they like not able to work together in their spying, that we now need more than one camera in a phone? You get what I'm saying? Anyway, so there's Trump. Trump, big strong man in the US. The US finally said, fuck it, throw the Molotov cocktail all the way in. We're done with this shit. Or it was a case of more people stayed away from the good side, or it was election obstructionism. Whatever the case may be, I do genuinely think that Donald Trump would have lost that election if everything was fair. And so I assume he won because he managed to January 6th, before January 6th, he managed to subvert the system before, so that, yeah, it all rolled on. And then also the idea of the voter turnout being whatever, that the thing that really bothered them, the thing that got Joe in office was the voter turnout. And so they then knew how to make sure that as few people who show up vote as possible. And so voter ID things were used and blockages and all of that. And then they managed to do a media blackout and legitimize the result. They pretty much GNU the shit out of that election in some ways. The same way that happened in South Africa, where our election was just like, they switched off the computers for some time, and then they were like, okay, we know the result. And then EFF is like, alright guys, there's no need to fight. And MK is like, we're going to court, because they were not told what the play is, what the script is. And they wasted our time and resources, because now they don't care, because now they know the script. Anyway, different stories for different days. So the point is, you have this thing, this thread across the world, and then you have that Ibrahim Traore, who is the same thing, right? At the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's a political strongman who holds all our hopes and dreams as a people, and we therefore give him legitimacy, and that legitimacy he can use in ways, and we are hoping that he will use this legitimacy in ways that benefit us. But like, history has kind of prepared us for anything to happen, because we just never are able to control and hold our people accountable, especially the leaders that we put there to do specific things. We can't seem to extract the things that we expect from them. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that any other way. I guess it's like a parent that can't get a kid to brush their teeth. You know what I mean? That's what South Africa is. That's what Africa is. That's what the world is generally. We can't get to utopia because we can't get the steps in place. We can't get the steps in order. Doing the right thing, getting the right momentum, and repeating over and over again until the results become something worth mentioning, so to speak. Alas, we get to Ibrahim Traore, who is the squeaky clean Boy Scout, G.I. Joe, perfect for merch. Like, in terms of Iron Man of politicians right now in the world is Ibrahim Traore, right? So literally, like, why are people not making dolls of this nigga all over the continent? Like, that could create so many motherfucking jobs. Instead of us marching for this nigga, we should just fucking make merch. Okay, this nigga's face should be everywhere. This nigga should be on every t-shirt. Like, I don't even understand. And so I guess maybe that's where you then start your own company instead of just ranting about it on Hoy's Radio. Use Hoy's Radio to support and promote this business of yours that you then start and you establish, and you put in the discipline and work, do the legwork and make it work. But yeah, I do have that kind of ambition in my mind, and yet my mind moves way faster than my body, way faster than my hands, way faster than my discipline. So Hoy's Radio it is. This is where I can be peak me, whereas trying to turn this radio station into products and services and businesses and registered, and you know what I mean, like signing up for YouTube was like stressful enough for me. Like, I'm fine with admin, and I don't understand why there's so much red tape between me and my dreams. I guess maybe I also want to be a strong man. I guess I also want to be a tyrant. If they're all stepping out of the shackles that they've been bound in for these centuries, and the spell is breaking, and whatever was cast on us as a world is starting to disintegrate, and we're like, we don't have to tolerate lies. We don't have to be gaslit. We don't have to be abused. We don't have to, we're waking up to all of these realizations. And as we're waking up to these realizations, some people woke up sooner, some people woke up later, some people were woken up by good shepherds, and some people were woken up by bad shepherds. Okay, we have to just admit that it's a fact of life that there is variety, and so not everything that happens is going to happen exactly the same way. It's going to express itself differently in different locations with different variations. So Trump woke up his people, and he basically was like, this whole thing has been rigged, and I can change it so it's rigged for you. You can join me in it being rigged for me, but you have to step into your whiteness. You have to get into that Adolf, you know what I mean? Get into Adolf mode. And I guess why people were like, you know what? We were ashamed that we had to get into Adolf mode, and so we voted for Biden, but we're back, baby. We're like, fuck it. Like, my kids being disappointed at me, my wife looking at me the way she did, it wasn't working for me. Let's fucking win as white people, at least. Like, damn, like, throw the Molotov cocktail. And the young ones were obviously just like, yeah, the rules don't work, the system is broken, everything is bad, everyone's toxic but me. And so it just resonated, right? And he can't see his flaws, he can't see opportunities for self-development. And I guess then that appeals to people who are like, no, I'm fine. It's everything out there that needs to change. It's everything out there that needs to adapt and become better. And so yeah, that resonates. People get that message very clearly. They understand it, and they're like, this nigga wants me to live a life where I don't have to constantly be reading books and updating my knowledge and getting better at things and getting fitter and getting better equipment and climbing. Like, no, he's not offering any of that. He's basically saying, let's hold everything in place. Let's just freeze. Nobody move. Stay where you are. Except if you're in Gaza, because we're going to build some shit there. But that's not, yeah, it's not funny, but it's true. I'm just stating facts. Arranging them in a particular way, but they are, like, whatever I say, that's not true. No, except the stuff I obviously made the point where I was being speculative, right? Like, it is not true I could make $1 gajillion with designing Ibrahim Traore merch and shipping it all over the world. Well, not even the world, just Africa to begin with, right? Like, if always became what it was meant to be through Ibrahim Traore merch, like, who thinks these things up? I guess me. And now, yeah, see, I've just given myself homework. And when you're wearing your heart on your sleeve, you have to tell the truth. I don't feel like doing this homework. This homework is a lot. I'm overwhelmed. The idea came from the ancestors, or it came from the ether, or it came from underground, or beneath me, or the vibes and the air. I don't know. But I rode with the idea while it was an idea. But now that it's time to make it practical, I won't lie to you and say I'm fucking ecstatic. No, I wanted to come here and talk to you guys for an hour about shit that's on my mind. The idea of us having an American spy as a pope. Like, what the fuck is he going to look for in the Vatican? And how much more are they going to change history? And basically, they're like, let's go get everything we left last time. Because that's how it feels to me. It feels like we altered history, but we didn't alter it enough. Like, we need to double down on the spell. We need to, like, we were able to colonize them for 400 years, let's say 600 years, depending. Now, if we go and burn everything, then they'll never know that there was something else before. And then we can tell them what the truth was. We can tell them that the chosen people are us, and you just happen to live here, even though it was your land to begin with. But you don't remember that because you don't have history and you don't have propaganda means. And so we will tell you what your history is. We will tell you where you used to be and where you're from and what you're meant to do with your life. And as we do that, it's called advertising, which means someone is paying for your attention. And because someone's paying for your attention, eventually you're going to have to pay them back by buying something. And so for you to be able to buy something, you're going to have to then what? Earn a living so that you can then pay the people back who are advertising these products to you by buying the products that they were advertising to you so that you can pay them. This is the system that we live in, and these are not like, everyone should be able to understand what I just said, right? Everyone should be able to understand what I just said, except maybe like very small children and people that don't speak English, or I don't know. I really don't. I think someone who hasn't had life experience, because as long as you've been out here, you realize that that's what's happening. You realize that you're borrowing from the person that needs you to borrow so that they can borrow you what you're borrowing. Like, they manufacture your borrowing so that they can borrow to you. They create needs through this insidious thing called advertising, which I've been fascinated with because I really did feel like this is clearly either the devil himself or humanity mimicking him fucking to the T. The idea of capitalism itself might not be the devil, but I think advertising is, because it's about throwing little ideas, little suggestions, giving you little off-ramps from the path of obedience. Slowly, you don't realize that you're no longer going where you thought you were going, but you are now completely in the wilderness, and you are at our mercy now. And that's why you leave the protection for you to experience the trauma. If you stayed in the protection, you would have had the trauma. I mean, you wouldn't have had the trauma, you would have had the protection, so the trauma wouldn't have been able to get in. Now, people then say, fuck a God's protection, because what did an innocent little kid do? That innocent little kid met a wolf, a person who had left God's protection. And so, is it God who introduces that negativity into that person that needs to fill themselves because they have a hole in their soul? And how they choose to do that becomes this thing of casting out a trauma onto someone else so that they can then feed off of creating a hole in someone else, thinking, okay, I'm digging into you so I can fill my hole, but your hole is like a bottomless pit. And so you're constantly digging on people, and you owe everyone, but you'll never be able to pay them back. And that's where the solipsism then kicks in, because now you realize that, right? You realize, oh snap, if I'm a good person, I actually intend to pay these people back. If I'm a good person, I have to explode into marvelous wealth so I can pay everyone back, like investments that they made into me, and now I'm getting to, give back, to be like, oh, I appreciate you guys. When the day ones, you were the foundation, you helped lay the foundation of everything that we've built here. But that's just one way of looking at things. Yeah. Anyway, so I assume everything in my life is a psyop. I assume that everything is a psyop, in that Ibrahim Traore, as soon as you believe in him, you then start to think, oh shit, you fell for it again. He is the perfect action figure right now. He's the perfect action figure. He's the one that would sell the most on the African continent. One product establishes a whole industry. Now, both the business model that you use to market the product, the propaganda that you use to market the product, the way that you charge, and the way that you think that the product has to be pro-poor. So how do you deliver a product like that in a pro-poor fashion? How do you decolonize the way that you build the business model around getting a Traore in everyone's hands, every African's hands? And so they can take our Traore away from us, but they can't take away the Traore that's in our hearts. You know what I mean? The Traore that we have in our hands. And maybe that then becomes not necessarily a business idea, but the conclusion of a dream through writing, where that's the end of one of the characters' stories, is just having a continent-wide business, and that continent-wide business doing more than just making money, but having a huge impact, particularly in a demographic that you've been wanting to address the whole time in terms of parenting. And so this is where you realize, oh shit, taking a rest and being able to look at things from another perspective is always so helpful, because it makes you creative. You're able to fill in those gaps with something, and that something surprises you, and therefore it might not be new to the universe, it's just new to you. And yeah, Ibrahim Traore, are you a double agent? Doesn't matter. I'm gonna sell your merch, and whether you live or die, I hope we meet one day. But I don't hope you die, because I genuinely do think that Africa is owed something. I have been railing on about someone doing something, and you are. And yeah, if you are a double agent, I hope you know how to double cross them too. That's all. Cool. Then we're done being a fanboy to Ibrahim Traore here at Wear Your Heart on Your Sleeve FM, Hoy's FM, a station where it's straight off the top so that you know it's real. Nah, I didn't say it right. I don't even know my own jingle. Wear your heart on your sleeve. Welcome back to Hoy's FM, where the opinion is real and straight from the heart. Nope, it's not it either. It's where the opinion is real and straight from the top. I don't know. I think it's straight from the heart. Anyway, guys, early days, right? Think about this. Hoy's FM is going to be a globally relevant entity in the propaganda space and is going to churn out products like putting a trial in every African hand, every African child's hand. And for every person who buys a trial collectible, we deliver certain things to poor people, along with the second trial doll or whatever. And so it's like, you understand that even though you're the one doing the bulk of the paying, you get less than the person that is going to actually benefit from the product. And so if I did it that way, it's kind of like a pay it forward type product, then I would be willing to and be inspired to, even though I'm going to be speaking to so many deaf people that it's just not going to be worth it. I'm so not a person who has faith in humanity. And that's why people like Traore come around and you're like, I want to believe, but then you also want to be skeptical and you see the other side of the coin. Now, let me tell you about someone who, there is no sides of coins here. This person I universally currently am enamored with in terms of, he beat me to it. Basically, he beat me to it. A lifelong dream of mine has been to write the book that ends all books, a book that solves racism. And fuck, I think I found a book that actually did it before me. I think I found a book that did it before me. Why I say I think is because I'm still open to writing something that actually ends racism. But fuck, this is close. I apologize for the F-bombs, but yeah, I'm learning to be authentic. I'm learning to not be performing. Yes, this is Hoy's FM, and I'm a DJ, Bongani Mina, but that doesn't mean I don't get to be real. And that's probably why I forgot the jingle, because now I was trying to think about this as, oh my god, you have to get the engagement, you have to get the people, like make sure you're talking, make sure that there's content, make sure you're prepared. No, it's straight from the top. Opinion is real and straight from the heart. See, I don't even remember the jingle. Like, this is so depressing. Imagine if I was actually on the radio, I would be so fired right now. Like, if I was the owner and the DJ at the same time, I would be the same person firing myself, because basically there's an inner voice firing me right now. The inner voice was like, why are you still recording? Why are you still talking? I understand you want to share your vulnerability, but why not share good vulnerability? Why not become a better person before you start sharing instead of just sharing your rock bottom spiralness? Anyway, turning attentions away from me to a genius of our time, a luminary who wrote something so beautiful that I have no words for it. I genuinely do not have words for it.